To kick things off, please welcome Will Brown from Genesis Global, who will showcase how they've integrated Symphony into their primary bond issuance application to drive automated workflows for their users. Welcome, Will.
Thanks, David. So hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm Will Brown. I'm a sales engineer at Genesis, and today I'm going to firstly introduce you to who Genesis is and what we do for those who aren't aware of us, and then I'm going to give you a demonstration of one of the products that we've built, which is our primary bond issuance application that has Symphony at its core. So starting with who is Genesis. So Genesis, we're a software company that helps to build financial markets applications, and we do this using our underlying development platform. This development platform helps to simplify and accelerate the building and implementation of financial markets applications through a few different pillars. We have an underlying runtime that handles the non-functional core of every application that we've built. And this non-functional core takes care of security, authentication, encryption, everything you would expect at the heart of any financial markets, trading, or other system. We have a development suite, which is standards-based, and it helps to abstract away the complexity when building complex workflows, UI, UX, things like that. And then we have a financial markets marketplace composed of integrations, components, solutions, which is standard for our industry and can be reused across applications. Through this approach, we've built over 50 different applications that are running live in production across the industry, across the front and middle and back office, from trading, operations, reconciliation use cases. And these are across asset class. So we've built solutions across equities, fixed income, and even in more recent times into crypto, renewable energy. And through this, we've seen use cases where we've delivered applications up to 10 times faster than building from scratch. So summing up the value is that simplification, acceleration of the software development process, specifically for financial markets. So that being said, today we're going to focus on one of the use cases that we've built, which is our primary bond application, which is all around the new issues workflow. This is actually a marketplace solution that we have. Originally, we built it as a bespoke solution, like all of our applications. And this was built for a buy-side client that was struggling with inefficiencies throughout their bond issuance workflow, which they felt was leading them to missed opportunities, so missing out on participating in bonds that were being issued. Since then, we've seen that this is kind of a common challenge across the industry, and this solution has now been productized and resold to other buy sides, as well as a similar solution for a sell-side institution, again, within the new issues workflow. So now we have a truly global application that's used across regions and across asset classes within the bond space. So we started off covering things like corporate, high-yield, emerging market bonds, and now more recently adding things like munis, leverage loans for some of our clients, with more asset classes to come. Now, just before we go into the demonstration, just wanted to highlight some of the problems and the challenges within the new issues workflow. And I think for a number of the years, anyone involved will admit it's been a challenging area, typified by inefficiencies that lead to missed opportunities, just like our first client was facing. Some of the common challenges that we saw really centered around disparate data across a number of systems. This was forcing users, traders, portfolio managers, analysts to have to fall back to manual processes to copy and paste data from one system to another, or alternatively, have to rely on an incomplete view of the market when going through the new issues workflow. And this can be very painful when they have to get orders out the door in a timely fashion. So, looking at those disparate systems, typically we see traders, PMs have to log into 5 to 6 different applications every day. So you've got multiple market data providers if you want a view of the global markets, Bloomberg, IPO direct books. You've got your internal tools such as an order management system or a portfolio management system, depending on your persona, a research and analytics tool to get color on the bonds, and then central to that, of course, is communication. So people using different internal communications channels. This leads to a lot of context switching, and very importantly, a lack of notification. So you're not being pushed data from these systems. Instead, you're having to search for information across the different market data providers. So that's where our new issues product primary bond issuance application comes into it. We've built a one-stop solution that centralizes all market and trading data into one place. So integrations with the 3 upstream market data providers that I mentioned, real-time integrations, so that we receive new issues as and when they're announced. And of course, it's designed to be integrated with your internal tools, such as your OMS, PMS research systems that I meant. And lastly, but most importantly, Symphony is the heart of this application, helping to solve the communication challenges that our users were facing and those notifications and context switching issues. Just before I get into the demo, the key players we'll focus on here, the key players leveraging this application are traders, portfolio managers, analysts, through a variety of different mechanisms, which I'll touch on through the demo. The common thing for all of these users is they want to be notified of important information as it comes to market, and what we're trying to provide is global access to the same data from anywhere. So regardless if you use our primary bond issuance application, or you're logged into Symphony, or you're logged into your order management system, we want you to see the same data of market data orders so that you don't have to switch from application to application. And different users are able to use these tools in different ways depending on their persona. So that being said, let's jump into the demo. So for this demo, we're going to have 2 screens running. Here you've got the Genesis primary bond issuance application, and then we have a Symphony messaging window here. Now, I'm sure you all know, or are very familiar with Symphony, so just take a couple minutes to introduce you to our application. It's split into a few different areas through the workflow. So we talk about those 3 stages as being detection, decision, implementation. So detection is about receiving that market data of those new issues. Decision is the internal book building process for the portfolio managers. And then implementation is traders picking those bulk orders up, going out to the market. Now, for today, we're going to focus on detection, where what you can see is at the top of the screen, we have our new issues grid, and at the bottom, you have analytics, and then a Symphony chat as well. Now, Symphony is present on all screens, so what we're going to walk through today extends throughout the whole workflow. And where we've integrated Symphony is through 2 different mechanisms. One of those is embedding the chat right within the application, as you can see here. And then we've also integrated with the Symphony APIs through a few different ways. One is we're creating a deal chat room for every deal that comes in. So here in Symphony, you can see all of my different deal chats. And as we switch between different bonds within the Genesis application, again, you switch applications. You switch chats, I should say. Now, another important API we're leveraging within Symphony is the auto-subscription model. So we're able to subscribe traders and PMs to different chat rooms based on their preferences and based on the classification of the bond. So if I'm a high-yield trader, I want to be notified automatically of any high-yield bond that meets the criteria I'm looking for. So we will auto-subscribe you to those chats. But for the purpose of today, what we'll show you is what it looks like when you join a chat. So we can do that manually within the system, and then what you should see within Symphony, live demo aside, there you go, the Procter & Gamble, I should say, bond has just appeared. And in a second, we're going to see all of the relevant information about that new issue flow in. So we're leveraging the Symphony APIs to push relevant tranche information. There you can see it's just appeared. So deal and tranche information, any interest that flows through, and anytime anything important changes with this bond, so one common challenge we see in the market is that users, maybe they have to manually create a shell security of a bond within their order management system, but then they don't get updates. Whereas when you're integrated with market data, maybe pricing or IPTs comes out from the book runners. Those will flow into PBI, we'll update Symphony so that everyone is aware of this. And then from here, we can also send messages back and forth, as you would expect. So if we send a message within the Symphony chat, that will appear within the same chat within the primary bond issuance application. This means that whether you're living within our new issues product or you're living within Symphony, you have the same access to information. This is important for our clients. One of our clients, their PMs have a very good portfolio management system. So they don't want to have to add another application to their daily routine. The traders had the bigger problem than the analysts. So what they do is their PMs live within Symphony and their PMS. They get updated with all of the new bonds that are coming to market. They don't have to log into the Genesis application. when they want to start to place interest or build an order book, then they can do that within their internal system that will flow via live integration into the Genesis app, and then it will also flow into Symphony. So if we click on the Citibank bond, we'll see some interest that was already created. So here you can see, across the 2 different tranches, 5 orders within each tranche from the internal portfolio managers, and this pattern continues throughout the workflow. So this would go out to the traders. They would pick up these orders as a bulk order, go to the market, and hopefully receive fills and allocations back. And as those would come in, we would see those updating Symphony as well. So this means that for this particular client, their PMs have a full view of the market without having to log into our primary bond issuance application, but all because of the relationship between this application and Symphony and integration into their internal tools. So although this is just one use case that we've walked through today, hopefully you can understand the kind of reusability of embedding Symphony within your applications, leveraging the APIs to push messages out to the Symphony chat rooms to help solve business challenges, especially around centralizing communication and disparate data. Within Genesis, we've centralized our Symphony APIs so they are completely reusable across multiple different applications. So that concludes the demo for today.
That was great. Thanks, Will. So I see we've got time for a few questions here. Clearly, you focused on primary bond issuance in this example, but are there other opportunities that you see with Symphony and use cases there?
Yeah, for sure. Quite recently, we've spoken to a few potential clients about quite similar use cases with how we use Symphony here, not at all within the primary bond workspace, but more in terms of replacing spreadsheets, manual deal workflows, or project workflows, where you could, where they use Symphony for communication, but it doesn't have the business data without them having to copy and paste. So, we're looking at similar use cases to embed Symphony within an application, create chat rooms, as I showed there. But, wider afield, as I said, we've componentized our Symphony integration. It's now part of the Genesis marketplace within our notifications component. So any user within any Genesis application can configure notifications to be pushed out to Symphony, as well as via other channels like email. So Symphony is kind of right there to be used within any application, and we can see future use cases around trading, back and forth, sales trader workflows, things like that as potential use cases there.
You kind of touched on this integration being born out of a single client request and then kind of grew from there. What has been the feedback so far from that audience?
Yeah, good feedback. From the start with our first client, Symphony was central to their plans within the application. One view we provided for them early on was the app actually embedded within Symphony. But now I think with more clients coming on board and taking on their feedback, we've moved more to this position of posting notifications, all the updates within a chat. So you effectively have the view of all the data without the application embedded within a smaller window. But with a client that's come on the back end of last year, they really pushed us to improve our subscription logic, and they're really enjoying how they can leverage the 2 applications together.
One more before we let you go. Are there any other exciting innovations that are coming that we should be aware of?
Yeah, we're always working, one within primary bond issuance to enhance that application. From a standard kind of Genesis point of view, from the platform itself, as everyone is, we're working to embed AI within both how we build applications, but also how our applications function. So, we've built AI services. One example within that PBI solution is leveraging AI to turn unstructured data that you might receive for a particular roadshow or pre-announcement into structured data that can be captured in the bond. We're soon going to be releasing some AI support for helping developers within the application development lifecycle, so helping them to generate Genesis code. And we feel like we're quite uniquely positioned for this because of the standards-based approach for building on the Genesis platform. You're less likely to get kind of spaghetti code that's hard to maintain. Instead, you get componentry that we know will work, is secure, compliant because of the guardrails that Genesis gives to you. And that's what we call our AI on guardrails approach. And finally, in our last platform release, we added support for Model Context Protocol, or MCP. So, leveraging the open API spec that every Genesis app produces, you can leverage MCP to communicate with your Genesis application from, a Claude or other LLM, sending data in, pulling data out of it, all natively.
That's great. Let's give another round of applause to Will Brown from Genesis Global.